Have you ever thought about how good pixel games are? Well, actually, pixel games are not that bad. Many pixel games offer exciting gameplay mechanics and interesting stories that leave an impression on your heart. Because there are many pixel games that have unique stories, deep sad stories, creepy stories, and other impressive stories. So, in this video, I will only focus on giving some titles from pixel games that have very high quality story aspects and must be followed. First game with high quality aspect story is Omori. Omori is a pixel RPG game created by a developer called Omori. This game seems at first glance a cheerful game, but actually the story of this game is a psychological horror genre. So when you will play this game, be prepared for various surprises that will occur in the story. A little about the outside of the game's story. As you can see, Omori uses a top-down style for the camera perspective and pixel art for the graphics. This game also carries a turn-based battle system style. As in general, we can make a fighting strategy against our character to inflict damage to the enemy by taking turns. However, there is one thing that is unique, that the characters who fight in this game can be influenced by the emotional status and condition of the character. Okay, next, if we look at the story aspect of this game, Omori has a complex and deep story. There are so many sides of depression that are depicted in this game, even though this game carries a horror side, but it is not as scary as imagined. Just like psychological thrillers story. Although this game actually depicts a lot of disturbing and creepy things, complete with the story being played, this game offers various endings, from happy endings, sad endings, to scary endings. And of course, each ending has a surprise that is ready to play with the feelings of the players. And next, game with best story in number 2 is Undertale. Undertale is a pixel RPG game created by a developer named Toby Fox. Just like Omori, this game offers a story that is ready to make surprise and curious to players. Seeing from the outside of story, Undertale has pixel graphics and a top-down camera perspective. The fighting style in this game is not a turn-based system like usual, but offers a different fighting style. It will make you to avoiding various objects given by the enemy using your mouse. In addition, when you fight, you can influence the feelings of your enemies, which will affect the story of the Undertale game. Seeing from the story side, this game presents a unique narrative, a child who falls into a hole which is the contents of the world of monsters, and then she tries to get out of that world. Although the story sounds simple, the adventures of the main character of this game will be carried out in an exciting and surprising way. After finishing with the story and successfully getting out of the monster world, there are 3 endings to choose from, and each ending can be influenced by the actions you take on the monsters, and of course these endings will give a distinct impression for the players. Okay, next. Game with best story game is series of Freebird games. To the Moon, A Bird Story, Finding Paradise, and Imposter Factory are games created by Freebird Games. Uniquely, those 4 games are in the same universe or same world, and the stories will be interrelated. So, if you want to understand the storyline from the start, you can play it from that sequence. Games made by Freebird Story do not emphasize aspects outside the story. You can only move your character to explore the story with a top-down camera perspective. Even so, the story offered by Freebird Story is very good, because those games created by Freebird Games only emphasize the story aspect. Like reading good novels and watching best movies, you will be presented with very deep stories that will leave your feelings and tears. This game does not carry the horror genre like the 2 titles I have mentioned, but this game offers a drama genre story about the life of someone who is ready to bring you to a story full of deep sadness. So guys, if like the dramatic story and full sadness story of someone's life, I think you should try Freebird Games series. It's recommended. Okay, this time, I will explain a little about the initial explanation of the 4 games with interrelated stories made by Freebird Games. First is To the Moon. To the Moon is the initial framework of the story created by Freebird Games. To the Moon will tell the story of 2 workers from Sigmund Corporation named Neil Watts is an engineering specialist and Eva Rosaline is a senior memory traversal agent. They will work on clients who will use the memory editor tool, where the tool can rearrange memories according to the client's wishes by exploring the contents of the client's memory. Adventures in memory will contain many things, from silly things to sad things. Along the way, we will be taken seriously by the story of this game to the end and will leave your tears. Second is A Bird Story. A Bird Story is one of the prequels of the third game, which will be explained later. A Bird Story doesn't tell the story of two workers from Sigmund Corporation anymore, but will only tell the story of a lonely little boy named Colin. Along the way, the story told in this game only discusses the friendship between Colin and a bird. This game does not tell the main story, but is only an addition to the next game, Finding Paradise. So, if you don't play this game, it's not a problem and doesn't really affect the rest of the story. Third is Finding Paradise. Finding Paradise is a continuation of the two stories above because it involves three characters that already existed in the previous game, namely Colin the little boy, Neil Watts, and Eva Rosaline. The story in this game will tell the story of an adult Colin who becomes a client of Neil and Eva. That way, we will be brought into the world of Colin from childhood to adulthood with the memory editor to wish Colin's last wish. And the last one is Imposter Factory. Unlike the previous three games, Imposter Factory no longer tells the story of Dr. Watts and Rosaline, but rather about Quincy being invited to a party held in a secluded mansion. After accepting his invitation, he went there and found a time machine in the bathroom while he was washing his hands. The story will start with weirdness, but as the story progresses, we will be brought to a serious past story of one of the characters from the game. Even though it doesn't tell about Neil Watts and Eva Rosaline, Imposter Factory still has something to do with the previous game series. Next pixel game with best story is Katana Zero. Katana Zero is an action pixel game with platformer subgenre. This game was made by a developer named ASCII Soft. Although at first glance it looks like an action platformer game that seems to only rely on the gameplay aspect, but this game actually has a good and serious story as you play and explore the story of the game. From outside the story aspect, this game has action and hack and slash combat that has been made to perfection. Not only attacking, you can block bullets with a sword slash, avoid all enemy attacks with acrobatics, and slow down time so you can fight enemies effectively. The fighting style that you must try because it makes you satisfying when playing it. The explanation of the story aspect in Katana Zero, although it looks like it only focuses on the mechanics of the gameplay, it turns out that this game is very serious in compiling the storyline. Even though at the beginning of the game, you only fight enemies and it seems like there is no special story, but as the game progresses, the storyline will become more interesting and tense. There are many oddities and things that make you curious when you reach the middle point to the end of the story of this game. So, this game is highly recommended to be played because of the emphasis on gameplay mechanics and a perfectly plotted storyline. Next game with best story and unique story is One Shot. One Shot is a game made by Future Cat that has aspects of breaking the fourth wall. Unfortunately, this game only offers an emphasis on story and with a set of movement like RPG pixel games in general, so there are no cool gameplay mechanics offered. Even so, the story offered to the players is certainly very interesting. Before that, I want to explain about breaking the fourth wall. Breaking the fourth wall is an ability that characters in a game has an awareness of things that are outside of it, meaning those in the world of the game being played are aware of the existence of the player who plays it. In this side, One Shot is one game that has that aspect. Characters who are in the One Shot game will realize the existence of a player who plays it from the real world. Therefore, this game is very interesting because in addition to offering aspects of breaking the fourth wall, this game also offers a very interesting story to follow. Last game with unique story is House. House is a pixel game that relies on breaking the fourth wall, which was developed by Bark Games. As I said, this game is similar to One Shot where the characters in the game can be aware of the players that playing the game. The pros and cons of House are the opposite of One Shot, which relies on stories. House, instead, relies on gameplay mechanics even though it's not as actionable as Katana Zero, but the gameplay is very fun to play because players can play with objects around it, to annoy, disturb the whole house, and even kill the householder and stranger things there. However, as I said, the actual storyline in this game is implied and cannot be understood directly. Even so, there are many strange things and many endings that you can find, and it will take you into a unique situation or breaking the fourth wall. So guys, those are the games I've mentioned. I'm sure, those games are games with masterpiece stories and very interesting to follow. I hope, when you play those games, you can enjoy the story aspect of the game and give you a positive impression. Thank you for watching, see you again in the next video.